everyone. Can everyone hear me? Yeah? Okay, well, welcome to our second STEM Success event of the semester. There are 5 more after this, and they're varied topics, but I wanted to tell you about the next 2 that are coming up. September 21st, right here, same day, Tuesday, at the same time, 12:20. Dr. Gibson and I will be presenting advice for first-year students interested in STEM majors. So this is going to precede your advising appointments for freshman year. So if you're a first-year student interested in a STEM major, you're going to want to attend that one. After that, we have a much more interesting one that will be screening a movie called The Most Unknown. And the details of that screening are coming, but it will be an evening on-campus screening of a film. Then that will be followed by September 28th. It's a virtual event, so over Zoom. One of the scientists that is featured in that film will be speaking to us. His title is Adventures in Extremophile Research, or How to Search for Alien Life. And that is Dr. Luke McKay. So that one should be super cool. Put those on your calendar and make it easier. And now I'd like to introduce our event for today. We have 3 wonderful students, 2 from the Division of Natural Sciences and 1 from the Division of Math and Computer Science. We have Ari Brown and Nadia St Thomas, who are both biochemistry majors. Ari is a sophomore, and Nadia is a senior, and both of them do different kinds of research that they're going to talk about. And we also have Will Stallions, who's a sophomore engineering major, who did an internship with a local engineering firm. So the point of this today is for you to kind of learn about different opportunities for you as an undergrad to get involved in. So without further ado, I'll introduce Ari. I'll let Ari come up. Let's thank them all for being here.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. Okay. So my name is Ari Brown, and as Dr. Siaka said, I'm a sophomore here at Maryville College, and I'm a biochemistry major. I'm going to be talking to you today about my summer research with the ACA Ledford Scholarship Program, and I did mine on the quantification of microbial biomass in the sediments of Svalbard. So first I'm going to talk about some advice on ways to get involved with scholarship opportunities. My first advice would be to show your professors that you care, first of all, because that is how I got started. I was in Dr. Buongiorno's class, her organismal biology class, and half the battle is honestly just being a good student, turning your work in on time, participating in class, and being involved with the material. Your professors will seek you out. You don't have to participate in class necessarily if you don't really like to be that person to speak up. Make sure that you email them with good questions, go to office hours, basically just show them that you care. Think about the kind of research that you want to do, so kind of have an idea if you have a research question that you want to investigate, and then you can go to a professor that you think will be able to help you conduct that research, or if a professor already has something that they're doing, and they think that you would be a good candidate to help them with that. So, another thing that I would say is prepare. Think about how you can manage your time over the summer if you're going to have time to do research. One thing about the Ledford Scholarship is that it pays you to do research, so that if you need to have a job during the summer, you don't necessarily have to do that because you're getting paid to be working on research that's going to benefit you. Also, think about the other accommodations that you might need and seek out other scholarships. Ledford is not the only scholarship that will help you with that. So, like I said, have a conversation with your professor, advisor about the research. Is it the research you study? Where can you see it going in the future? Think about where they want to see the research going and where you want to see the research going, and collaborate with them on that when you're writing your proposal. For my proposal, I had to do a lot of research about the work that was previously done in the field, which you are going to also have to do. I read a lot of journal articles and just to see kind of how my research was going to fit in with what was previously done and what made mine stand out. Also, make sure to write it early so that you have plenty of time to revise it and plan. The Ledford scholarship requires that you do a lot of budgeting and time management, just so that they know, like, if you get the scholarship, that you're going to be able to carry it through, and that you're going to use the money that you're awarded wisely. So be organized. Okay. So my research, the why. We probably don't walk around all day thinking about the microbial community in Arctic sediments, or at least I didn't until I got involved with this research project. But it is one of the greatest contributors to Earth's biogeochemical cycles, and that makes it very important. On another slide, we hear it said somewhere that there are as many microbial cells in the seafloor sediments as there are in all the world's oceans. So it really is all connected, and that's why we need to pay attention, because it is a good indicator of our planet's overall health. Another reason why I focus on the Arctic specifically is because one source states that it is warming, it has warming trends of 2 to 3 times that of the rest of the globe. So what can microbial communities tell us about the effects of climate warming and vice versa? How do they affect each other? Like I said on the slide, it's all connected. This area of research specifically connects a lot of different disciplines. So it includes microbiologists, geologists, and chemists, because it is about that nutrient cycling, the different areas where you derive your sediments, what is influencing that type of environment, etc. So the methods. My sample collection, I used samples that were collected on a trip that Dr. Buongiorno went on in 2017 to Svalbard, Symbionts, and it was done at these 3 sites, GN, J, and DK. It's C up there. And then the samples used range from 0 to 10, 0 to 9, and 0 to 18 centimeters respectively. What this means is we got a large tube and they put it in the ground, and when they pulled it out, you could see like the cross section of the sediment, and you could see at the top was from 0 to 1 centimeters below the seafloor, from 1 to 2, etc. going down. And then after the samples were collected, they were stored in -80-degree freezer for later extraction of nucleic acids at Maryville College. DNA extractions were done here at Maryville College in the Buongiorno lab, and we used the pagan power soil RNA kit with the DNA add-on kit. So we got RNA and DNA extractions both. The RNA is probably going to be used later, but this research focused on the DNA extraction. Here is a picture of me working with phenol chloroform isothermal alcohol, which is part of the DNA extraction process. It splits open the cells so that you can get out the DNA. That's why I'm working with it under the fume hood, with gloves, and a lab coat, and goggles on, because it will do the same thing to your skin if you get it on you. It will split your cells open and burn really bad. So then with our extractions that we collected, we conducted gel electrophoresis to see if we got a good amount of DNA. As you can see in the next slide, the GN1 samples did not show up on the gel. So here are the 3 different gels that I ran, and they're all labeled with all the different samples. As you can see, the one on the left, there's a little block missing in the middle, which is where all the GN1 samples were. The reason that we decided to continue with this research and not go back and redo those extractions were because there may have been too little amplification for the gel electrophoresis, but that did not necessarily mean there was too little for PCR. So we went ahead and continued with that. We did MPCR with a standard curve and the J1 samples, because the J1 samples, as you can see on the previous slide, all showed up very well in the gel. So We ran those to see if sufficient copies were made, and then we ran them through another gel, and we determined that the primers were old because we didn't get any results. Then we tried new primers and we got the same results. That's one thing that I learned about working in scientific research is you can do everything right and it may still not work, and no matter how many times you do it, you may end up just wasting a lot of time. So at a certain point you have to say, okay, I have to move on, and that's what we decided to do. We decided to run a sample through Qubit to determine the original starting concentration. If we're not getting enough amplification to see in the gels, why is that, and what actual concentration is there? So I know that's a lot of numbers and you're probably not going to look at it too hard, but that is just what the Qubit shows. So if it was under 0.005 milligrams per microliter, then it said it's too low for detection and it would not tell you the starting concentration. If it was above 760 milligrams per microliter, it was too high and it also would not tell you. So, and then you can see that GM1 samples are too low, which corresponds with color gel. Bacterial qPCR, we made a standard curve from sample B3 with a known concentration of 1.52 milligrams per microliter, and then we used bacterial primers BAT 340 forward and BAT 515 reverse, and we dyed them with fiber blue dye. The standard calculations were from -2 to -10, or -9, and the no temperature control was made using nucleus-free water. This standard curve also took several attempts. As you can see, the one on the top is the one that we did not use, just because the standard curve doesn't really go in order, they're all kind of mixed up. And then the bottom one, you can see there's more of an order, it's like -2, -3, the next, and so forth. So finally, once we got a standard curve, we were able to run all our samples on the gel, and use the top one is the melt curve, and the bottom one are the qPCR results. The samples that were still too high on the qubit were diluted 1 to 10. We used the qPCR using the Svalbard Quantification kit. And then we read the plates using the octocontours at the University of Tennessee. The next thing I did for quantification was cell counts. So I diluted sediments to a 1 to 20 concentration. The amount of samples versus PBS varied for each sample depending on the amount of soy that could be extracted. So I have a table where we put in the amount that we could extract from sediment and then how much PBS we needed in order to have a 1 to 20 dilution. We sonicated 3 samples for 1 minute each, and then added one to another 5 mL of PBS, and dyed those with 5 times fiber gold dye and let sit for 10 minutes before applying it to a filter. Once the slides are made, we counted on a 6400 grid area 30 times for each sample. The pictures that you see are just kind of examples of the morphology of the cells that we have. So not necessarily quantification, but just trying to see what type of cells live there. You can see kind of long filamentous type cells, and then also little clusters, and cells that are colloidal or like little ball-shaped cells. This is the dilution spreadsheet I was talking about, just for transparency, so that you can see the type of equations that we did to get that. And then as qPCR, we did the same thing as we did with bacterial qPCR, but with our peel primers. And we used for our standard curve sample A2 of known concentration. That concentration turned out to be too low, so we had to do PCR on it, and up that concentration to 7.87 milligrams per microliter. And then the RPO primers that we used were 806 forward and 915 reverse. And we're still currently working on interpreting these results from our field data, so these results will be absent from the next slide. These graphs were done with R, and the one on the left is the cell counts that were dyed with cyber gold. The one on the right is bacterial qPCR done with cyber green. We samples for the cell counts look a little bit scattered, which is not typically what we would see with previous research. You may be wondering why there's such a large gap on our GN cell counts. That is because we left out GN2 and we only put GN1 samples in this. If I were going to remake this graph, I would probably include that GN2 sample just because GN samples were done like 0 to 3 centimeters, 3 to 6 going on. And because of that, we had fewer data points, and so it would be harder to see a trend if we excluded that GN2 as we did. So. And then today we see what we would expect to see, which is a typical downgrade. So as you can see, there are, the x-axis, is cells per milliliter, and then the y-axis is depth and centimeters below C4. So as your depth increases, as you get closer to the C4, you're going to have more cells per milliliter because that's where the most nutrients are cycling. So obviously there's going to be more life. And then as you move down, there's going to be fewer and fewer cells. And Jay shows that pretty good with the cell count. Then for that serial qPCR, GN and K also show that typical downgrade, where there are going to be more copies and more cells towards the C4, and then as you go down in centimeters, there are fewer and fewer cells. DK, it looks like it's missing a lot of data, and we thought that this was probably because DK was near another site, not Svalbard, but Quantification, where Dr. Buongiorno did some research previously. And the sediments here were very rich in iron, so we think that iron contaminated our samples and inhibited the qPCR from being able to do the copies of DNA. So that's my presentation. I want to say thank you to Dr. Buongiorno and Dr. Karen Lloyd and the Lab at the Department of Microbiology at UCK. And you're also listening. Do you have any questions? Okay. Well, I guess that's all. Thank you guys.
No.
Hello everyone, can you hear me good? Awesome. Good afternoon everybody. As you see on the PowerPoint, my name is Will Stallions and I worked over the summer at a local civil engineering firm called C2RL Engineering. And before I got started, I just kind of wanted to start off by saying what C2RL Engineering, what they are as a company. They are, as I said, a civil engineering firm who they specialize in what's called design lab. So what that means is if someone was to come to them and say, hey, we want to build a grocery store. This grocery store, we wouldn't specialize in actually building the four walls. We do what's called the four walls act. So we would do the entrances, we would do the parking, we would do the lighting, we would do the sewer, we would do the stormwater, all of the things that are involved in the site, but not actually the building. And what was neat about this was I got to get a snapshot of what's going on in my community, because all the stuff that we do is here locally, if not in Blount County, then here in Brandon, East Tennessee, where I've grown up and where I hopefully want to spend the rest of my life. And this was a really great summer to do that because we were so insanely busy. If any of y'all have been clued into what's happening with development, there's been a lot of people developing here recently, and especially in this area. So the guy that I work right under, he said that most times he's managing about 6 to 7 projects at a time. He said this summer he was managing around 17 at any given point. So this was a very busy summer. It was a great summer that I got to hop in and see what goes on in an engineering firm. And so I feel like the most obvious question is how did I find out about these people? How did I get into it? And it was pretty neat. It started actually my senior year of high school. I went to Heritage High School. For those of you who are local, a few miles down the street, you've probably seen it. You go drive to Townsend, the Great Smoky Mountains. And we have a program that's called work-based learning. But work-based learning is basically you get to leave your 5th block of the day, you get to leave early and go work, and get to see what you're planning on doing in the real world. And it was a really neat opportunity that I got to be part of it. And so I joined that program and I got to get on with them. And then I joined on with them during the first semester of my senior year, and then came back and said, at the time made the impression with them and said, hey, would you mind if I intern this summer as well? And they brought me back. So I guess I did a good job that first time. But the reason I want to say that is because, there are so many opportunities that your institutions have. I was even able to find them at my high school. And I know that Dr. Johnson and Dr. Gibson are always pushing the opportunities that you all have here. So for the freshmen who are sitting there, take advantage of those opportunities early that you have here at Maryville College. The connections that this college has can really set you up, or just the connections that you can make through the institutions that you're part of. And then also I feel like an equally obvious question is, what did I do? And I like to make the joke that I just kind of walked around all day kind of pestering engineers saying, hey, you got anything I can work on? And because that's really what I was able to do, just kind of walk around and get a taste of everything. It was a lot of learning and a lot of being able to see what these people do in the real world. I got to learn how to use AutoCAD, which is their CAD software that they use to do all of their drawings. I got to see the engineering design process that I've heard so much about. I got to see it work in the real world. I got to see how the site layout that I talked about earlier, how that's managed, and I got to see how a project is done from start to finish. And while I was never able to see a complete project, I was able to see snippets of projects in the works, and was able to get a sort of sense of what it's like to carry a project from beginning to the end, which is what we do. And I figured that was the best way to describe what I did, was to kind of show you what it's like, a project from conception to when you have 4 walls and a parking lot and all things that come with the building. And so this is kind of a 40,000 foot overview. This doesn't really get into the nitty-gritty because I'd probably bore you all to death if I told you everything that is involved with it. And also I don't think I can remember everything that's involved with it. But it all starts off, as I wrote down here, with an idea and a meeting. And what that is back to our grocery store example, someone says, hey, I want to build a grocery store. Or is anybody familiar with the Claytons, the Clayton homes? Yes, they've been doing a lot of building here in the area, and so we've dealt very closely with them. They've been building, I think there's a distillery, there's a bike shop that they're building, there's all sorts of stuff they're getting into. And so we work very closely with them. So they come to us and they say, hey, we want to build a frisbee golf course. That's something that they've actually done. So they arrange a meeting with my boss, Chris Ora, and they say, hey, is this something we can do? This is what we're planning, and he will sit down and make some drawings with them. And from there, determine if this is something you can do. And say, hey, we'll schedule a meeting and see if this is something you can do in your price range. And he'll hand the drawing sketches that he's done to someone like me or someone else that's in the firm, and we would create what's called a concept. And you can see some concepts up here that I was actually able to work on a while ago. And that is just, it's not very precise drawing, but it's to get an idea of what direction we're going in, to give the client an idea of what we're going to do. And so it's taking those hands-on sketches and the idea, and actually putting it in our CAD software and being able to do something with it. And once we move on, let's say we have the meeting and they like the concept, they say, yeah, sure, let's go with it. We've got to get an idea for what the site looks like. Sometimes if that's a small site, that's just if you click on Google Earth and say, hey, what are we looking at? Sometimes it's a larger site, which most of our projects are. You're going to want to get out there and be able to see it with your own 2 eyes. But always, we wanted to send a survey crew out. Because what the survey crew allows us to do is gather data about the site. So they can create a 3D image of what this site looks like. And when they do that, we're able to upload that into our CAD software. We're able to manipulate it. We're able to add all the things that make it not just a cow field. We're able to add all of the parking, all of the stalls, all of the drainage, everything that makes it a functioning site. And so that's an extremely important part. And then after we get an idea or a sense of what we're able to do, we can move on to actually drawing things. So this is what I call sort of the lay. And this normally takes the longest because we're adding in everything that makes it a site. And these can take, and if we're fast tracking it, it can take weeks. Most times it's months to years. How long does this take? And like I've said before over and over again, this is everything that makes a site a site. And a lot of times this is where you see the engineering design process come into play. Hey, this doesn't fit here. Hey, how do we get the most parking lots? How do we optimize this? How do we do this? No, this didn't work. How do we change it so it does work? And all of that trial and error is really one of my favorite parts that I got to see, and see how these people think and how they go about their jobs, how they're able to solve problems doing things like that. And you see I wrote down here, it's just sort of a bird's eye view that we're doing. That's what our plans are all about. What you can see beneath it. So if we're going to put in a fire hydrant, and someone's going to build a fire hydrant right here, well, that's fine and dandy, but they just know it's right here. They don't know anything else about it. So we include these things called details, which you can see sort of, this is the bottom picture, where it gives you a little bit more detail about some of the specifics of the site. What the cross-section of the pavement is going to look like, how deep you drill the fire hydrants, what the fence is going to look like, what the gates are going to look like. Different things about that. And so after we get them drawn, after we get them to where we want them, we go through a series of meetings that I kind of label as authorization. We have to meet with the client again. We have to meet with the city and county officials. We have to go through revisions. It's just meetings after meetings after meetings. And that's making sure we're all on the same page. Making sure that it's done to the best of our ability, and making sure that the client likes what they see. They're like, yeah, that's what we want. That's what our idea was. Or that the city says, yeah, that's good, you can build it there. And a lot of times, it doesn't happen on the first try. Actually, it's really never happened on the first try. Clients always like, yeah, we changed our mind about this, or our budget changed. Or the city's like, yeah, you can't put those 200 to 187 feet apart, they have to be 200 feet apart. It's all those things like that that we have to go back and we have to change and we have to deal with. And that's, again, part of that revision and part of that design process. And then once everything's lined up, once we like what we've drawn, once the client likes what we've drawn, and once the city says, yeah, you're good to build it, then we can pass it off to a contractor after the engineer stamps it, and we can, like I said, pass it off and move on to another project. And where I fit all into this was, I got to do a little bit of everything. There are sometimes a boss came up to me and said, hey, draw this concept, I need it by tomorrow. There are sometimes that someone said, hey, we need to change this, could you mind figuring this out? Hey, how do we get as many parking spots in here as possible? Hey, this is what this detail is supposed to look like. Could you change it a little bit for us so it makes sense? And that's a little bit what I did, and it was just a lot of a little bit of everything. And I really love that I was able to do it like that, and just get a good cross-section of what these people do every day. And then, so I wanted to say, overall, how I feel like my summer went, working with these tutorial engineers. And I was going to tell you, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I thought it came in a great opportunity. And one of the three main reasons I liked it was, for so long, I wanted to be an engineer since I was a little kid. And I've read things about engineers, and I've studied engineers, and I've looked at all the data, I've looked at job opportunities, and I've looked at Indeed, and the occupational outlook handbook, and all these things. I've never seen engineers in the real world doing what they do. And it was really neat to be able to see these people that are doing what I want to be when I grow up, and getting snapshots of that. And it was really cool. And also, one of the bonuses that I felt like I really liked was the drawings I did. Some of them, right now, that are out there that got stamped, have my name on them. They say, drawn by Will Stallions. I think that's really cool. Maybe it's because I'm a nerd. But that I got to be a part of that, and that I drew that, and that I could get recognition for that as a 19-year-old who's still in college. And then finally, one of the things that I really do think I like best is that I had a part in developing my community. As I said before, this has been an insane period of growth and development for Blount County and East Tennessee in general. And so 5-10 years from now, when I drive by Heritage High School, I can point to Greenway and say, hey, I drew that. I can drive by the food city that's going by over across the Texas Roadhouse, and I can say, hey, I drew that parking lot, or I was part of this, or my name is on these drawings, or I remember when we were going out there checking out that site. And I think that's really cool that to see that, to know that I got to be a part of it. And that's really why I enjoyed this, and I think that it was a very positive experience. And I would advise you all, if you're thinking to get an internship or to do study and research on what you want to do in the future. And so that's pretty much all I have to say. Do you all have any questions? Thank you all so much.
I'm Nadia St Thomas. I am a senior biochemistry major here at Maryville College, and today I'm going to be presenting on NIH RU in environmental health science at the University of Tennessee that I studied. And so an RU just stands for research experience for undergrads, and it pretty much is very self-explanatory. It's an opportunity for undergrads to participate in graduate level research and graduate level lab. And so why should we do an RU? One, obviously, to participate in active research. It allows you to utilize critical thinking skills and apply the knowledge that you are all gaining in your classes here at Maryville College. You also get the opportunity to learn new lab techniques, and it's a great opportunity to complete your senior thesis. It also is really important in making connections for grad school, med school, whatever you plan on doing after your time here at Maryville. It looks extremely good on a resume or a CV. It's also a great way to meet new people and visit new places. There are RUs all over the country, and people go from all over the country. We have people on my program from Texas to Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, so a really good way to travel. And also, it's an opportunity to have a summer job, typically get a stipend with an RU. And so, when applying for an RU, all you have to do is Google search NSF RU, and it takes you to this link. And you click on that link, it takes you to the NSF page where you can search for individual programs or even places that you would potentially want to go to do your RU. And it's really important when you're applying to ask for letters of recommendation. And so here I just included like a potential email that you would send to your recommenders, stating what you're asking them to recommend you for, the different programs you wanted to apply for, the application fees, and the links to those programs' websites, so that they can understand what it is you're actually applying for. And then you're also going to want to include your resume, a cover letter, a personal statement, and any additional requirements from that particular program. Sorry about that. So for the rest of the talk, I'm going to talk about my research that I did in observing the dynamics of transmission of bacterial symbionts and Steinernema Nematodes. Simply put, we wanted to look at how these nematodes transmit their bacterial symbionts. So this is the poster that I generated for my final presentation for my RU program. So Steinernema Nematodes are microscopic worms, and they have developed a mutualistic association with Steinernema bacteria. And through this association, they are entomopathogenic, which simply means they cause disease in insects. So this figure, you're seeing the life cycle of these nematodes. In the soil, they acquire these Steinernema bacteria in the IJ state or infected juvenile stage, and from there they can go on and infect insect hosts, as well as progress through the remainder of the life cycle. In the adult state, sorry about that, I'm not used to that. In the adult stage, they have one of two options. They can either lay their embryos that will then hatch outside of the body cavity, or they can undergo this process known as endotokia matricida. And so Endotopium matricida is the process by which fertilized embryos develop within the maternal body cavity, and it ultimately leads to the mother's death. So in panel A of this figure, you're seeing this Steinernema Nematodes, this female worm, that's diving and thriving with another plant for the process. And then panel B is actually showing the maternal death, where these larvae literally eat their way out of the mother. It's pretty creepy. And I don't know if this video will play. If you want to see a really cool video of it happening, let me know. So we wanted to know how Steinernema and Generators, that association, how those bacterial symbionts are transmitted. And there's a spectrum of symbiont transmission. So you can either have horizontal transmission, which is where they acquire them from the environment, or vertical transmission, which is where they acquire them directly from their parents. And so we wanted to see where on the spectrum our nematodes go. So we asked two really essential big questions for my research. What are the dynamics of symbiont colonization throughout the nematode life cycle? And can these symbionts be passed directly from parent to offspring via vertical transmission? And if so, does this happen via the process of Endotopium matricida? And so we hypothesized that there is some vertical transmission happening via this process. So the purpose of my work was to observe the dynamics of transition and this process of Endotopium matricida in two types of Steinernema nematodes, Steinernema carpopathy and Steinernema hematorenum, using fluorescence expressing Generators symbionts to help us visualize where they were located in the nematodes via microscopy. So I had three main objectives. The first was to generate green fluorescent Generators strains and associate them with our nematodes. And we did this by utilizing bacterial conjugation. The second was to generate red fluorescent Generators strains that were matched to our green fluorescent strains. Matched meaning that they had all the same properties except instead of expressing green fluorescent proteins, they expressed red fluorescent proteins. And we utilized PCR amplification and cloning. And then finally, obviously, observing symbiont transmission in vivo in an infected insect. And we used microscopy for that. I'm not going to go through all the methods for each objective. If you have specific questions, let me know. I'm just going to show the results. So we were able to generate green fluorescent Generators strains, Generators Graffinia, CFP, and Generators Pneumococcal DFT. You can see that here. This is just an LBC plate with the parent strains that obviously are not fluorescent green, and the DFT strains that are. We were also able to associate these DFT expressing Generators with our nematodes. So here the microscopy image and they're using the anterior portion of the nematode, and you can see at the base of their fins is where the Generators are colonized. We also were able to generate red fluorescent Generators strains. I actually did not get to see the red fluorescent strains, but I helped develop the transformants that are used. But this picture on the right is just showing you the two red fluorescent strains with the inserts that I made. And then finally, observing symbiont transmission in vivo. The method for this I will talk about because I was actually part of optimizing this protocol. And so we utilized a public protocol that utilized pepsin, like the enzyme pepsin, to dissolve or degrade insects in order to better visualize the nematodes that have infected them. And so we were able to actually identify different stages of bagging, or the process of endotoxin microspora. So in stage 0, a female nematode will have unhatched embryos that are confined to their germ. You can see that in the picture to the right. In the first stage, some of the embryos will have hatched, but there's still some that are unhatched, and they're still confined to the germ line. In the second stage, all of the embryos have hatched, but they're confined to the germ line. And then in the final stage, they've all hatched, but they're freely moving around the maternal body cavity. You can see those images on the right. And so this is a really complex figure of what I observed. So on day 0, obviously the day that we inspected the insects, we utilized IJs that we knew were colonized with the DXP expressing Symbionts. And then on day 3, we underwent the peptide digestion protocol to extract the nematodes and observe them via microscopy. And we were able to see that on day 3, the nematodes were in stage 0 of bagging. So they had embryos, but they were unhatched and confined to the germ line. On day 4, they progressed to stage 1. So some of them had hatched, but still confined to the germ line. Same thing for day 5. On day 6, they progressed to stage 2. So all of them had hatched, but they were confined to the germ line. And then from day 7 on, they were in stage 3. And so we were successfully able to generate reinforcement in registries and match collections, and also observe the colonization throughout the nematode life cycle via this process of peptide digestion. And so I would like to thank the University of Tennessee and the NIHRU program, Dr. Stephen Rigg, Dr. Heidi Taylor-Square, Dr. Jennifer K. Ledford, as well as the lab that I worked in, and then Dr. Jennifer Badavi, Dr. Nathan Lundgren, and Dr. Gibson for writing my letters of us, and then also the Maryville College Natural Science Department for preparing me the best way that they could. And I cannot tell you how well prepared I was to go into a graduate level lab and do graduate level research. So thank you.
Okay, I just want to encourage all of you who are in here and maybe didn't ask questions while they were speaking, but you're going to see these people walking around, right? They're in Sutton, you're in Sutton. Catch them at some point and ask them more advice. These are campus leaders, campus STEM leaders. These are folks that know things that you want to know. So I'm sure they would be happy to share with you, and I just want to thank them one more time.